Stuck playing the same old blues patterns? Sometimes all it takes is one small change to open up fresh new ideas. And many players avoid alternate tunings because they seem like a hassle. You got to retune, that takes time, and once you're there, you have to relearn everything. And I felt that way for years. I was resistant to playing in open tunings, but there's one simple alternate tuning, maybe the simplest of all, that opens up so many country blues sounds, and you only have to change one string. In this lesson, you're going to learn how to use drop D tuning to add bass runs and fresh chord voicings to your country blues playing, and I'll show you exactly where to focus on the fretboard so you can start making music right away. Let's dig in. To tune to drop D from standard tuning, lower your 6th string a whole step from E down to D. I've already done that. This is our starting point, but in country blues, we often play alternating bass patterns that fill out our low end. So let's take a look at a country blues style example that leverages the new deep sound of the 6th string. These are the first couple of measures from a song that I teach in the premium library called Morning Cup. And it's a country blues picking thing with the alternating bass happening on the 5th and 4th strings, just back and forth while we play this melody out of a D chord shape. And kind of answer it as we lead into a little partial of a D7. Right? But that back and forth bass line has the A as the lowest note, and that's fine, it sounds all right, but if we want to get a little extra weight in the low end, that's where we can bring on drop D. So if we take our 6th string, use the 4th string as a reference pitch, and tune that 6th string down to D, we can hear that extra low end. But we have to switch our alternating bass to a 6th string, 4th string alternation, like this. We put the melody back on top, it sounds like this. So really, we get that thump happening and that bassier note to ground us. Really fills out the sound here. See how that low D note gives everything more weight and depth. It's a slight tweak to the bass pattern, but it makes a huge difference. And either pattern works great, really, but now we've got some options, so you can pick the one that you like the best when you're playing. But now let's look at how drop D changes one of our most common chord shapes. So most of us know the open position G chord shape, like the back of our hand, really. It might have even been the first chord that you ever learned, but with our 6th string tuned to D, this familiar shape, it just kind of breaks down a little bit. But there's good news, is that a simple tweak here again gives that familiar chord a really cool sound that works perfectly in a country blues tune. The last part of the melody over D is this. And for a moment, we step into this part of a D7, and that really pulls us forward in the progression to the next chord, which the chord we're going to is a G chord, but not this one because this low note doesn't sound quite right, so we can't use our standard tuning form of a G. This is actually an F note, and it gives us a little confusion as to what the chord really is. But if we take that away and let the B on the 5th string be the lowest note, we've got a sound that sounds like a G chord, right? And this is a perfectly good and useful shape for some country blues picking. Now notice that I did switch alternating bass to 5th string, 4th string. So we're playing that B and then the D. We can do something to this to make it even more bluesy. If we take this B and swap the index finger out for the middle finger, that gives us some room to kind of open up a little bit and put that 1st finger down on the 1st fret, 1st string. A lot of firsts there. And then you might want to change out the D note on the 2nd string, 3rd fret. You might want to swap fingers there. I do, that feels a lot more comfortable. And then we get a really cool G7. This is a G7 over B. G7 over B. And now that we're here, we can do some really classic Statesboro Blues, Blind Willie McTell style moves with this voicing. I love this voicing for a G chord. We can incorporate the open first string, visit that, pull off, pick, do some really cool moves. And then also, by the way, when we walk into that B, we definitely get those Statesboro Blues vibes. This voicing of the G chord really opens up so many possibilities. You can keep it simple with just the bare bones of the chord, or dress it up with the G7 shape and throw in those cool pull-offs. And both really work great in country blues, and you're going to see them both in action a little bit later when we bring these moves together. But my favorite thing about drop D tuning happens when we start exploring the bassy side of things. Down here in the open position, drop D tuning gives us some really useful moves that are dead simple to pull off. You barely have to move your fingers out of the chord position, and they sound really bluesy. One of the cool things about drop D tuning is that with a D chord on the fretboard, we have these open 3 strings, 6, 5, and 4, that are really bassy, and they sound great to incorporate into some bass runs or riffs. We need open strings as acoustic blues players because they ring out and fill out the sound. And there's so much right there at our fingertips in drop D tuning. What I just did there was play on and off at the 3rd fret. So stay anchored with your chord and move your middle finger and just start with that 4th string 3rd fret. The F note. That's the minor 3rd of D. So we play the open 4th string D note and then the minor 3rds. That's the root and the minor 3rd. Right? Something really cool and bluesy to do. Very simple 2-note idea there. But we can keep going and incorporate that 3rd fret on the 5th string. That's a C note, which is the flat 7 of the key of D, which we hear in D7. We played that C here. So it's a great note to use, and it sounds really good when we pair it with that open 4th string. But of course, whatever we can do on the 4th string, we can also do on the 6th string, because it's also tuned to D. So you see, we've got quite a lot that we can do just focusing on the open strings, 6, 5, and 4 at the 3rd fret. But here's something really cool about that. If you think about the notes, let's go to the 6th string. We've got the open 6, that's a D. We'll call that the root. It is the root in this key. We go up to the 3rd fret, that's an F. That's the minor 3rd of this key. Then the open 5th, that is the 5th scale degree of this key, and then up to the 3rd fret. So just open 3rd, open 3rd, and this C note we already talked about is the flat 7. And then we've got our octave here. So if we just follow through the strings, root, minor 3rd, perfect 5th, flat 7, octave. That is most of the minor pentatonic scale. Fact is, we're just leaving out the 4, and we could play that if we wanted to, just by sneaking up to the 5th fret on the 6th string. So you can see that we get a lot of the minor pentatonic sound, a really bluesy sound, just right there on and off the 3rd fret. I love it. But there's something that we can do to add a little bit of flavor even to that, right? We can start to incorporate the 2nd fret on those same strings. Right there, I just moved from that F down to the E. And if you do it right, you kind of get some elements of Skip James sound there. But we can also do that, drop down to the 2nd fret on the 5th string as well. So a couple of really cool notes to toss in there. All right, so we've got most of the minor pentatonic scale, and then now we can incorporate that second fret. It's right here under your fingertips, and you can move in and out of those cool bassy runs and the chord. These bass runs help give your blues that classic country blues sound. Start with that open string to 3rd fret move and then add those flavor notes when you're ready. This is really a perfect place to noodle around and find some licks that you like on your own. But now let's put all of this together into a complete example. Premium members, you're going to find the tab for this along with the performance and a complete walkthrough in this week's extended cut. I mentioned that drop D opens up new possibilities for your country blues picking. It does that. But there's another simple tuning change that takes these bluesy sounds one step further. So click right here, watch this video next where I'll show you how to unlock dark and moody sounding blues that just takes one small tweak to the drop D tuning. I'll see you there. Until then, practice smart and play on.